Hello, my friends, and welcome to Real Conversations from English Plus Podcast. Today, we're diving into a crucial skill for all students, participating in a classroom discussion. Now, let's break down a real-life dialogue example and explore useful tips and vocabulary. First, let's listen to the dialogue.
Good morning, class. Today, we're going to discuss the impact of social media on society. Who would like to start?
May I start, teacher? In my opinion, social media has a positive impact because it connects people worldwide.
That's a good point, Anna. Can you give us an example?
Sure. For instance, during the pandemic, many people used social media to stay in touch with family and friends.
Excellent example. Does anyone have a different perspective?
I agree with Anna, but I also think social media can be harmful. It sometimes spreads misinformation.
Interestingly, can you elaborate on that?
Certainly. Last year, there was a lot of false information about health topics circulating on social media.
That's a valid concern. How about other thoughts? Maybe something about the psychological effects?
I'd like to add something, teacher. Social media can affect mental health, especially in teenagers. It can create unrealistic expectations and cause anxiety.
Thank you, Mia. That's an important aspect to consider. What about the educational benefits of social media? Any thoughts on that?
I think social media can be educational. Many educational groups and pages provide useful information and learning resources.
That's true, Tom. Can you give us an example of how you've used social media for learning?
Yes, I joined a science discussion group on social media last year, which really helped with my studies.
Great example. Now, let's talk about privacy issues. How does social media impact privacy?
Social media can invade our privacy. People often share personal information without realizing the risks.
That's a critical point, Sarah. Can anyone suggest how to protect privacy on social media?
Users should customize their privacy settings and be cautious about what they share online.
Excellent suggestion, Kevin. All right, let's summarize our discussion. We've talked about connectivity, misinformation, mental health, educational benefits, and privacy. It's clear social media has both positive and negative impacts. Great job, everyone. We'll continue exploring this topic in our next class.
Now, firstly, starting a discussion is about being polite and clear. When Anna says, "May I start, teacher?" In my opinion, social media has a positive impact because it connects people worldwide. She's doing a few things right. She politely asks for permission with "May I start?" and then clearly expresses her opinion. Remember, phrases like "in my opinion" are great for presenting your personal views. And now let's talk about giving examples. The teacher asks Anna for an example to support her opinion, and Anna responds, "For instance, during the pandemic, many people use social media to stay in touch with family and friends." This is a perfect way to provide a specific instance that illustrates your point. And in this case, of course, her point, Anna's point. Now, when expressing a different view, it's important to be respectful. Now, Lee does this well. He starts with, "I agree with Anna, but I also think social media can be harmful." The use of "but" introduces a contrasting idea while still acknowledging Anna's point. If you just go like, "I don't agree with Anna," or "what Anna said is not important, is not right, etc., that's not true, I think social media can be harmful," that's a little bit on the offensive side and definitely not respectful. You can always go with something like, "I agree with this person, but I also think," if you agree. If you don't agree with the person, you can go with something like, "I hear what you said," or "I respect what you said, I respect what Anna said, but I think." That's completely okay. Of course, it's normal to have different views on certain things, but it's not normal to be offensive or disrespectful. If you want to disagree. Obviously, it's your right, but be respectful about it. Now, let's move on to another thing. Elaborating on points is key in discussions as well. When the teacher asks Lee to elaborate, he expands his idea by saying, "Last year, there was a lot of false information about health topics circulating on social media." He gives more detail, which makes his argument stronger. Remember, it's not just about saying what you think. You need to be prepared to support what you think with some arguments, some details, some examples, even some stories. Now, Mia introduces a new point about psychological effects. She politely interjects with, "I'd like to add something, teacher." And this expression is a respectful way to bring in new ideas. And now, on to discussing benefits. Tom talks about educational aspects of social media, saying many educational groups and pages provide useful information and learning resources. He's highlighting specific positive effects, which is a great way to contribute constructively. And privacy concerns are also a big part of this discussion. Sarah raises this issue by stating social media can invade our privacy. Then Kevin jumps in with solutions by saying users should customize their privacy settings and be cautious about what they share online. This shows it's good to both identify problems and suggest solutions. And these are very healthy parts of a healthy discussion. You just don't take one side and you just hate the other side. It's not a hate group, it's a discussion. All right? And when you do that, of course, you have to identify the problems, but also try to suggest solutions. You can talk about different point of views, which is perfectly okay, but always be prepared to support your view with something tangible, not just because it's my opinion. I mean, it's okay. It's your opinion. You have the right to have your own opinion. But even for yourself, you need to be convinced because of something, not just because I think so. I think so is not a very good argument. Try not to use it in discussion, especially in classroom discussions. Now, finally, summarizing a discussion, like our teacher does, helps reinforce understanding. The teacher says, we've talked about connectivity, misinformation, mental health, educational benefits, and privacy. Well, a summary at the end of any discussion is usually useful, especially in a classroom situation. In conclusion, remember these key points when participating in a classroom discussion. Be respectful, stay on topic, listen actively, and speak clearly. And of course, don't forget to use the right vocabulary and grammar structures. This wraps up our today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me and listening to a new Real Conversation episode from English Plus Podcast. If you like the episode, please follow our podcast and share it with your family and friends. And if you feel extra generous, you can become an English Plus premium member on my Patreon page. The link is in the description. By doing that, you will be supporting me to create more of the content you love. But more than this, you will also unlock access to exclusive content that I share only with my patrons. With that being said, thank you very much. This is your host, Danny, signing off. I will see you next time.